Hi, my name is David. We're going to try to work together on this new session to learn about Agile. Agile is a new method of producing, managing, and let's say delivering your project. To do so, we're going to follow the next agenda. We're going to first get as an introduction to see what is the project, how to plan it, and how to choose the method. Next step, we're going to learn how to choose the right method between V method, XP, and Scrum Agile. After that, we're going to see the project. What is the way? We're going to see the project in a global view, how to manage it, how to test and receive in an agile way, and how to apply a project. And at the end, we're going to see together some, let's say, tips to work with Agile in different kind of way. At the end of this session, you're going to learn what is Agile in a global way, and you're going to be able to apply it to your own team, your own crew, and your own project. Now we know that we're going to learn about Agile. What do we need to do Agile? First, we need a project. Second, we need a crew. And third, what do we need? We need a method. This is the three things we need to learn about Agile, because Agile applies to the project with the crew, and this is a method. So now, what do we need about the project? We need to know what the project is in a business way and a technical way. So we now going to see three steps. First steps, how to define the requirements in a business way, in a technical way. Second step, how to plan the project. And third step, we're going to have to choose this method together. So now, let's see what define the requirements means. What do we need now to define the requirements? We need the first thing, the project. What kind of project can we choose? Agile can apply to any kind of project, apps, website, or whatever. Here, I propose to you to begin with a website. Website, let's say, about car stores. This website is going to get, let's say, 3 pages. A home pages, a contact pages, and let's say a car store. Okay. To do so, we've got 2 different kind of views. First kind of views is the business way, and second kind of view is the technical way. Okay? So what is the business need here? First, the product. Second, the contact, which is what am I going to sell and how I'm going to sell it. And most of all, how to be seen. Because if nobody comes on my website, nobody comes gonna come to call my car, right? So now we've got that project. We've got the global view of the project. This is the business way. To get more in details, the business way is going to say that from the HP, I got to go to the car store because it's got to be fast with a toolbar, right? Here, I'm going to get my toolbar because I want to get from the HP to the car store. On the car store, I'm going to get also a toolbar. And I'm going to get, let's say, a shop here. On the contact, I'm going to get different kind of, let's say a phone one, let's say a web one, or let's say another one, like Skype one. Why so? Because I need to be contact and I need a dealer locator. Okay? This is what my website looks like. Third now, we got to get some images so that the user know what is the website about. This is what the business defined. Right after that, we need to know the technical way. Sorry. What is about the technical way? The technical way is say, okay, you want to do things that way. But I think this is not possible. Because if you get the toolbar here in PHP, it won't work. This might not be true what I'm telling, but this is just an example, right? It won't work. So we got the technical way. Technical way will say, what is the environment, right? What is the type of code? Okay? And how many people will be needed? Between the business and the technical, it's going to be a lot of back and forth, right? Lot of back and forth. Why so? Because the technical will say, we cannot do so. But the business say, we need to do so. So the technical will find a way to do so. What am I talking about this? Because we need a crew. We need to define a crew for this project. What was I saying about a few minutes ago? And we need to define a method. They are linked. Now, the business has got another mandatory. I don't want to take, let's say, 12 months to my website. I need a website fast, easy way. How can I do so? If I use the right method, I can do so. If I'm not, I cannot. We're going to see now, at the next step, how to plan the project to make it possible. But right now, let's see what the old method is. Let's try now to plan the project. Now that we say that, we're going to try to plan the project. Let's plan the project. The most used method to plan the project is, first, the requirements. So we asked about the cost or what does it mean? It means that I'm going to see the head of management to say, hey, what are the requirements? What do I say? What do I do? Which we've been seeing at the step before, meaning business and technical way. Okay, this is going to be done. This is really, really, really important because if not, the project does not exist or will not be delivered in the way it's got to be. After that, we're going to see the who do what. What is it exactly? We've just said it, people about business. And we got people about technical. Two different crew. And now, between, we've got the method. This method can apply to the business, it can apply to the people. In the old way, before Agile, this is what we have to do in the old way. In the old way, now we have the requirements. We're going to do a documentation. What does it mean by our side? It means I got my HP. And I'm going to say in my HP, I got the toolbar. And I'm going to write a document. Okay? This document is named general or global. conception. What does it mean? In this document, I'm going to explain in detail how this pages is going to work in a global way. We said toolbar. We said this. Let's say core images. We said a footer. And we said a header. Right? This is the general conception. When general conception is got to be validated, first, which means what? Which means we're going to make this document, we're going to go to the technical and the business and say, okay, I'm validated. This is the first step of the old method. Doc. Right after that, we're going to get the same document, but it's going to be detailed conception. Same document, but twice bigger. Why is that? Because I got to explain exactly how the toolbar works. I got to explain exactly how the head footer works. What does it mean? It means that my footer, I got a link here. Okay? Let's say I got a link. I got a link to get to the webmaster, let's say that. It's going to mean that in my detail conception, I will have to explain how I'm going to do it, what is the user case, and how I'm going to work on it, which is not really a faster way to do so. Plus, if the detailed conception, I understand that's something wrong in the general conception, it means that we have to go back to the general conception saying something isn't possible, it doesn't match. Right after this back and forth has been done, we're going to begin to make the development. This is a way. Validate it here. Validate it here. And then the development. With this whole method, to plan a project is not an easy way to get your website fast in a secure way. This method was an old method. Now it cannot be applied to the new website, the new apps, or stuff like that. What we need now, right after that we have to make the development, is to say what is the system usage. Let's say now we are developing. Okay? So we have to go back to the environment and system usage. How can I, me, the developer, explain the system usage? I cannot. As a matter of fact, I am me, the developer. I have just two options, saying I can. I didn't say yes, we can. I say I can. I can or I can't. This is no other option. And this is why the old method is so bad. Because I can work on exception in my mind, in a global way, in a data way, and it can be wrong in a system usage way. Right after the system usage way, as we said, let's say we can't. If we can't, we got to get a second analyze to redo another way, the global specs, and right after, the detail specs. Which means that we're going to make the items again and again and again and again. After that, we're going to write the last document, which is going to be validated by everybody. And after the test and the deliver. So, as a sum up, if I want to plan my project with an old way, it means what? It means first specs, second global one, second detail specs, first development, 4 test, 5 delivery. But as we've seen, there's a lot of back and forth. Okay? This is why it was not easy to plan a project. It was a hard way to do. And let's apply that to the project we defined. It means that for any pages, I have to do so? No, it means that I will take the all pages here, all pages here, whole pages here, and stuff again. This way is not a good way to produce and to save money. This is why now we've been changing a method, but we need to choose the right methods. It's not easy to choose a method. As we've seen, here, we need the project. The question is, does the project define the method? Or do you have a method that can apply to any project? At first, in the next century, we had only the V method. Which I described before. Now, we've got plenty of methods. Waterfalling, extreme programming, Agile, TOGAF, or stuff like that. This is not easy to choose the method because all the method doesn't apply to all the project. All except one, Agile. As it is not easy to choose a method, we're not going to be able now to see all the method in this own session. So, we've been taking 3 of the most used training. Encore. C'est ce que je me suis vu.
Donc je le laisse plus longtemps.
Ouais, je veux bien. En fait, là, tu peux laisser le truc parce qu'à mon avis, ça sera même plus simple que télé.
D'accord. Il n'y a pas besoin de te voir.
Non, il n'y a pas besoin.
Alors, vas-y.
Tu me dis? As it is not easy to choose between all those methods, and we're not going to be able to see all the methods in this one session, we've been taking a list of the most used methods. To do so, we've been choosing Waterfall, Extreme Programming, and Scrum Agile. These methods are the most used because they are the most efficient, but not in the same way and for the same people. Now, we're going to see what is Waterfall, what is XP, and at last, what is Scrum Agile. We're going to begin by detail, let's say explain, a first method of delivering and managing projects, which is called Waterfall. Waterfall is meaning that has the V methods, I got different steps. The steps are, first, the requirement definition. As we said before, we have to know what we got to do and how we're going to do it, in a business way, in a technical way. Right after that, we're going to get a design way, which is not exactly the same of the V method, because we're going to go, let's say, a little bit quicker in the heart of the project. Right after that, it's going to get the implementation. I said, let's talk about the developers now. How they're going to make it, technical way, they make it, and right after, there's testing it. After testing, we've got set the environment, pre-production, production, and then take the development and put it in production. And at last, let's say about TMA, meaning assistance and maintenance. This is quite a method. But what's wrong with this method? This method, as you can see on the scheme, is that you never go back. Once the requirements definition is done, it goes directly to the next step, let's say design, and it gets exactly to the next step to implementation. So this method can be used, it can't be used for all the projects because you got to be sure of what you're doing and how you will be doing it, which is not. Let's assume that you and I, possible at the beginning of the project. At the beginning of the project, you say, I want to do this. And at the end of the project, all of the project looks the same. You don't do exactly the same. So waterfalling is a method that can be used with, let's say, huge project as making a plan or making some stuff for government or stuff like that. But it's less and less used, to be really honest. Why so? Because it costs money, it costs time, and it's not sure. Why is it not sure? Waterfalling. I got my project that I want to do so with my HP, contact, car store. If I do my waterfalling, let's say I am in implementation now. I am in implementation. And I realize, because the business changed his mind, that I have to do a fourth pages. A fourth pages. What does it mean? It means that I have to go directly back and make all again. Is this possible? No, this is not possible. Why so? Because all of the website now are updating anytime, anyway, because the market is moving, because the need is moving, because the users are changing. At first, when the web was out, the user was just surfing, discovering, stuff like that. Now, all the users are more and more experienced. So a website, to be accurate, it's got to be 1-1. It means what? It means when I'm going on a website, I know exactly that I'm going to find what I need. Is this possible in this way? No, it is not. Because if I understand that I do this website and the business realize when you see the figures, meaning that the website doesn't contain a page about color, let's say. I don't have a page about color of the car. The business is going to say to the technical, add it urgent way. Will it be possible with waterfall? No, it won't be possible with waterfall. Waterfall means that you have to plan your project before, and there will not be updating anytime, any place, which is quite hard to do. So, waterfall. Waterfall means collection of all requirements at the asset. It means that doesn't ensure a good understanding of the good requirements. It means if my requirements change, how will I do that? I will not. It means a delay of delivering. Why so? Because as I'm not sure that I am in the right position here, I'm not sure I will do the right project. I might not see the bugs. I might not see the planning because of the waterfalling. Let's be concrete why. Let's say I begin my project the 10 to the 31. Okay? Let's say I got 2 days for this. Okay? Let's say 2 days for this. Okay? And I imagine my fourth page. It means that I spend 4 days and I have to go back. So I cannot ensure the business that the website is going to be delivered on time. Never. We've been saying that the waterfalling might not be the right, let's say, the right one to deliver a project on time and to see bugs or stuff like that. We're going to experience another method calling XP, meaning extreme programming. It's about coding. XP is just, let's say, a brother of Agile, but not exactly quite the same because the loops are, let's say, quicker than in Agile and in a different way. The symbol of XP is about coding. It's about pair programming. What is it, pair programming? Pair programming, it means that I have two people. Let's say Charles and Joe. If you not do XP, you got Charles making a page and Joe making another one. With XP, Charles and Joe are working on the same page. Why is it a good way to work? Because it means that the code I got to be the same for everybody. First rule. It means that now the delivery of the code will be made with two highs, not just one. Meaning what? I'm doing, let's say, pages let's say a TD, TR, stuff, right? Charles would say, okay, I'm leaving, I'm going at noon. Okay, Joe will come at 2 p.m. We'll take the same code and we'll finish it. Why? Because they are all coding the same way. This is pairing programming. And this is the best practice to be done to make a crew work together. But what does it mean? It means that my crew is small. Let's say I have 50 people working on my crew. It means that I will have 25 pairs. This won't be possible. It means that I have small project. Why so? Because if I don't have a small project, it means that I will have, let's say 20 pages to do in 1 month with pairs. Will it be possible? Will it be possible? Because if Joe see a bug that Charles doesn't show, it means that I do a loop here. And if it is Joe, I do another loop here. Reason why you see on the scheme before, all those loops working together. XP is a really good way to working on a small project with a small crew as faster as one. The other good way of XP is about versioning. What is versioning? I am working on a project on, let's say, my dev environment. And I have, let's say, my crew there. It means now that Charles, Joe, and Bob are working together. But they're working on the same. Okay? So it means what? They're working on their environment, and they're not working together. Okay? They're working right after one or together at the meantime on the same desk. This is what expert programming. So when I try to put my file on a dev environment, there will be no problem of versioning. If I do in another way, let's say an old way, well, Charles and Joe will do their own job. Let's say they make a mistake, they work on the HP. One on one thing, the other on another thing. Joe and Charles will try to upload their files in a dev environment at the meantime, same time. What happened? I got a problem with version. In the first way, maybe there will less code. There will be less code, maybe in the HTML page, or not the right one. With extreme programming, this will not happen because we're all working on the same, pairing by pairing. Versioning is something really important to get the project updated in a good way. Extreme programming is a very useful method for small projects with small people to work the code directly. On this scheme, you see all the loops. You see loops about stand-up meeting, acceptance test, iteration plans, and release plans. And close to the loops, you see the duration. The duration means that extreme programming can last months because the stand-up meeting are really, really important to be done. What is a stand-up meeting? And we're going to see that in Agile. A stand-up meeting is that all the crew work together, and every morning, they just come together, as we said it. And they say, okay, Joe, what did you do today? Today, I have this task to be done, and I will do this task. And what do you do, Charles? Same and same is same. But this organization here on extreme programming is not really along with the pairing. Why so? Because Charles and Joe will say exactly the same thing. Extreme programming just take this from Agile. But to me, it is not accurate. It is not efficient. To me, the most useful method stays Agile. Extreme programming doesn't suit for all the projects. It has some crawl issues, and it has some project management issues. And it defines, let's say, not quite correctly, the role of all the people in the crew. What does it mean? In the old way, I have a project manager and the crew. Okay? The project manager need the planning, the crew, and budget. The crew just develop. Okay, that's a simple, quite easy way, but it's, let's say, simple to see it in a simple way. I got this. Here, in my extreme programming, how do I manage my planning? How do I manage my planning with all loops in the scheme? This is not an easy way to manage, and it can be some issues about this. So, my point of view is now, extreme programming doesn't suit to all the projects. So, let's try to get to the next step. Let's try to get to Agile. Ta-da! Now, we're going to speak about what we have to speak. Say, Agile Method. What is Agile Method? Agile Method is a way of managing your project and dealing with it in a faster way than any others. Why so? We've been saying what are following. Etc. Working? Not. Why? Because I got to plan my old project before. We've been seeing, let's say, fast way. I agree with that. Experience programming. Was it correct? No. Because of the crew issues? Okay? Because of the management issues. Let's say the who do what. Now, as those twos don't work, let's say we build another one. This other one is called Agile. What is exactly Agile? Agile, just born on seeing the fact that you can do a project from 0 to 10 in an only way. You got to do this project step by step. Okay, this is good. Agile means that do I have to do my doc and after to develop in one way and develop in another way? I mean doc for 0 to 10, dev from 0 to 10, is that it? No. Agile means I can do a doc, and this doc I get some parts of developing, right? And as I am developing, I can continue to do my doc. Which means what? Which means while I am developing this part, I can say to the people who write the docs, okay, this won't be possible. This is the first thing. First thing. Deliver bugs. Okay? Second thing is about deliver. In Agile, as I am developing part by part, small part by small part, I can see what my own pages will be. And I can see directly if the business is okay. Which means that we are not in the method. We don't have to wait all the steps. We are not in the waterfall method. We don't have to wait all the steps. And we won't have these small parts here, the crew issues and the management issues. We're going to see that later in details, but we don't have these issues. So, I have a doc. I develop it, a small part of it, and I get to my doc again, step by step. This ensures me of two things. This ensures me, and I'm going to tell you the details after, that I can deliver on time, and that if I cannot deliver on time, I can know it sooner. What does it mean? I'm going to take my example back. I begin with 0, and I say I'm going to deliver to 10. Okay? I do my docs day 1, and I continue. But I develop small parts of it. And the developers say, day 2, hey, this won't be possible. So I go back to update the document, not to do it again. Update the document. And I see bugs that I can solve. And I see, let's say, update. Let's take quite an example for this. I got my home page with my toolbar. Okay? I got my docs. In my docs, I describe what? I describe functionality has header, footer, and stuff like that. I'm doing, let's say, header first. The developer, the crew of developer, will tell me if it is possible to do the header that way. It means that I don't have to wait the whole home pages to say, no, it won't be possible. I can say it from day 1 to day 2, which is quicker. First. Second, we're going to see for the management issues that there are no management issues with Agile. Why so? Because in Agile, you got 3 roles. First role, the product owner. Second role, the Scrum Master. And the last one, the dogs. And they all separate. So to me, and this is the reason why we all here, it is the best method to do any kind of project. Not the small one, but any kind of project, and we're going to see that later. And it is the best way to ensure that all can be delivered on time and in the right way with the right programmation, the right coding. Now, let's go deep on this method together. Tick-tack, tick-tack. Now, it's up to you to choose the right method. Me, I have chosen mine. It is Agile. So, let's continue the session and see what exactly means Agile. Agile is not a magical method. It might seem a magical word, but it's not a magical method. As all the method, it needs to know, let's say, some items, some things that got to be precise. These things are define the perimeter, define the who do what, define the tools to be used. And I'm going to finish by that way. Let's say about best practice to use Agile in a major way. So, let's get in, let's say, in deeper way with all of these items. What does it mean for us? Agile needs to know what is the perimeter. Let's be quite understandable with the word. It is the perimeter of the project. First, it is the perimeter of what's got to be done. What does this mean? We had our example with our car store. With contact and car store. me, the business, I want this. This is the project. But I want to be able to be sure that this is exactly what I need. So what I'm asking you, technical, is to do this at first as a priority. Why so? Because if my site needs to be delivered on the 31, and it happens that I cannot finish these 2 pages, I will have these land pages that I will be able to put in front of the users to say, hey, wait, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, but a little bit, let's say, in a few days or stuff like that. So what's going to be done? What's going to be done is really important. And you're going to see later that what's going to be done is going to give us a document that you can call a backlog with different kind of items. So now we got to know the perimeter of the project. We got to know what's going to be done. And we got to know the perimeter of the crew. What does it mean? It means that I got to define how many people will work. Why do I need this? Because if I want to get a correct timeline to deliver my project at, let's say, again, 10, if I don't have this, I won't be able to say these steps. Okay? Docs, dev, again and again. So I need to know that. So Agile is not a magical method because it needs to know this perimeter. But it is a good and efficient method because when you get all this information, then you can begin to work. The next thing we need to know is how long. How long? What does it mean, how long? It means that I have my website, which can be different kind of website. Let's say I have to make a website about avatar, right? And I've been asking to make a website for a month. It means what? Less updates, less life. If I do a car store, it means longer, update, changing, etc. So, to do correctly Agile, I got to know how long this website is going to last, okay? And what it is for. With our example of the car stores, again, let's say it's going to last 100 days. Okay? It means what? It means I begin the 1st of January, and in 100 days, I got to get my website delivered. And I'm going to stay, let's say I'm making this for Chrysler. It's going to last duration, let's say 5 years. 5 years of duration. 15 days to deliver. How do I do that? With waterfall, it's impossible. So now, how long? What for? The crew. And what mix do we need? to define the who, the what in this method. The who, the what. It means I got how many people are working and what are they doing. As I said previously, I got three types of people. I've got the product owner, I got the scrum master, and I got dogs. This is the who, do, what of Agile. And why is it so, let's say, precise and magic? Because all of them can work alone or together. What does it mean exactly? Before, I had this. The project manager, the crew. This is what was before. And this is, let's say, sometimes it's not possible. Let's say that the project manager is a hard project manager and the crew won't bear it. They won't do the good work because they have to get some feedback to the project manager. Let's say the crew is not good. The project manager won't be, let's say, happy to work with them because they are working together. They are forced to do that. In Agile, the project manager, he doesn't exist. You got the product owner. What is the difference with the product owner? The product owner is just here to say one thing. He's here to say, I want my own page with my toolbar, with my header, with my footer. That's quite all. And you, the team, the dogs, you're three to do so. You don't have to give me any feedbacks. What you have to give me is, time by time, a review that can ensure me that what I've been asked has been done. That's all. Meaning what? Meaning the dogs working by the onside. The product owner cannot tell to the dogs how they got to do it and what they got to do it. This is a major difference between the other methods. As it is not easy to get from the product owner to the dogs, in Agile, you've got another role, which is the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is a part of the dogs. He is designed by the dogs to, let's say, discuss with the product owner. What's his role exactly? On our own page, I've got my header. In my header, I will say I got the Facebook icon. I will say I've got the print icon. I will say I've got an image. I will say I got a link, right? This is different functionality. This is what the PO wants. He wants this. The Scrum Master comes and say, okay, let's put that in a document that you want this. And I will tell you if it is possible or if it is not. We're going to see later. This called the backlog. Okay? You can tell if it is possible or if it is not. So, he's got the technical point of view, the Scrum Master. And right after, he comes to the dogs to tell them that, okay, This is what we have to do in details, step by step. And I've been telling you that I told to the product owner this won't be possible. I told to the product owner we can do this. The dogs discuss with the Scrum Master and say we agree or we don't. The Scrum Master can move any week. The Scrum Master can move any month. The dogs choose their Scrum Master, not the PO. This is a major rule. Agile just protects the developers as much as they protect the product owner. This is why this is a really useful method of projecting. So let's say it again to sum up. In Agile, you got the product owner, which is the one who defines the needs and the requirements. We've got the Scrum Master, which is, let's say, the link between the product owner and the dogs. But the Scrum Master belongs, and it has to belong, to the dogs. The Scrum Master is not a project manager because he hasn't got the power to tell to the dogs what they have to do. He just has the power to discuss with the dogs, to know exactly if they're okay with this. Okay? This is the role and the dogs. The dogs, let's say, are the developers. But in a different kind of way of what we understand as a crew. The dogs, let's call that, they've been calling that way, okay? The dogs, they're working all together, but in a different way. What does it mean? Let's say I have 5 dogs. Charles, Joe, Ben, Mark, okay? Charles will say, okay, you've been telling this item is not possible? You're wrong. It is. So, Charles will take this item. Bob will say, okay, I take this item. Mark will say, I take this item. Joe will say, I take this item. So, the developers, they are working together as a team to make the thing, but the way they want to do it. Each one can take the item he wants to do. This is a major changement, modification. Because here, you don't have such a freedom that you have here. Again, let's say to be sure we quite understand what we're talking about. The who do what is product owner, define the needs. The Scrum Master discuss with the product owner about what is able to do, what is not, the capability of the team to do this. And we're going to see later that it is not if it's possible. We see if it's possible, second, in how many times. And this is quite important in how many times to determine the velocity of your team. And finally, the dogs who can choose the items they want to do. Working as a team, part of the team, out of the team. This is the who do what. This is really important you to understand how to work with Agile. Okay, we see the role in a global way. To be sure we quite understand each other, let's try to get straight in detail now. Details mean theoretical and apply to our project, which is the cost of. So, product owner. Let's say she or he, whatever, is not a mandatory him to be a part of the top management. But it is mandatory that the project owner knows where to go. What does it mean? It means that the business define, okay, the 3 pages, okay, that inform the product owner of what's got to be done. And he put the whole screen in a document. To be concrete, this means this. I got my HP. I got the document for my HP. In this document, I will write the item we did before. Header, footer, toolbar, images, but more detail. What is in the header? Let's say, as we said, links, Facebook, Twitter, print, stuff like that. And more detail, if possible. Okay? So, the product owner, he or she, her role is to, let's say, get an overview of the project, to know that we got to begin to 0 to the 3 pages. This is the view of the product owner. So he got to define this, and he got to define the time. What does it mean? He got to define that I've got 3 pages, and he got to define is mandatory 10 days. First mandatory, second mandatory. Is it possible to do this in 10 days? To know that, he's got to know different kind of things. He's got to know about the velocity of the team. We're going to see later what does it mean. And he got to know exactly what the backlog is. The product owner writes the backlogs. He doesn't write the backlogs alone, but he writes the backlogs. So here is a link between the top management and the rest of the team. First, he's not the PM, and he's here to get an overview of the project. And he's here to see the retrospective. What is a retrospective? I've been asked to my Scrum Master, let's say, by an example, to develop header and footer of my homepage. There's 2 items there. We've been telling that the different items there have got those details, those functionalities. And with the Scrum Master, we're going to see later how it's going to happen. We're going to say this can happen in 1 day, the other one in 1 day, etc. Okay? So the product owner knows, and he's got an engagement by his team, that he's going to get a retrospective of the header and the footer, meaning that he can see on the screen the header and the footer by, let's say, 3 days or 2 days. So 2 days later, he's got to be able to know that he's going to see this header and footer. If it is not possible, he will know it 15 minutes after the stand-up meeting, and we're going to see what the stand-up meeting is right after. So to sum up, concrete way, a product owner is defining the number of pages, defining the numbers of days, but for defining numbers of days, he's got to know the velocity of his team, which is, let's say I will explain that in details later, but let's say I have 10 people working for 2 pages. I know that I will take, let's say, 20 minutes by people. So I say, okay, my velocity is 1. So if I get some more points, they won't be able to do it. But I'm going to explain that later, don't worry. For the backlog, same. The product owner has got 2 different kind of way of developing a backlog. First way for the backlog. complete backlog. Which is mean what? Which is mean I have my document, okay, with an ID, let's say a functionality, let's say details, etc. So on my car store, we said that we have functionality Facebook, functionality Twitter, functionality print, blah, 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 etc. Okay? This is the job of the product owner. He can do only this first part, saying, okay, I'm waiting, it's got to be done to build the other one, or it can do the half part, or it can do the complete one. By experience, to get the overview, the product owner is it's just better for him to do the overview first and to cut by items with the Scrum Master right after. Which means for our website that we're going to get, let's say, 100 lines for 3 pages. Okay, print, let's say image, let's say web service, let's say cross-browsing, let's say whatever, let's say car stores don't define the products, let's say contact, let's say links or stuff like that. The other job of the product owner is not just to list this, it's to prioritize. How will it do so? We said that we want the HP first. This is a mandatory by the business. I want to be sure that I get the HP on time. Okay, what is for the HP? The Facebook, the Twitter, the print, let's say web service, and let's say product. This is going to be a mandatory to get those. So they will get the first sign, say mandatory. You can take a number, you can take a letter, you can take whatever you want. Some take this ID. EXJ or URG as urgent. You can take whatever you want, but you got to build your own ID with a number or letter. So this is urgent, okay? And how do I prioritize on the urgent? I can prioritize in 2 ways. What is the easiest to do so that I can see exactly the things I need quicker way, or what is the most important business way? Reason why at the beginning of the session we've been talking about let's say business way and technical way. The product owner make a choice. You make a choice and say, okay, I want to see it quick first. So I want a Facebook, let's say. I want a Twitter. I will need print. And let's say I wanted a product. So we define what is priority for the business, what is priority, which is a key. Okay? So, sorry, ID will be 11, 12, 13, 14, and stuff like that. It defines his priority. It's his role. He's got the overview. He constructs and writes the backlogs and defines the priority in the backlogs. In the same backlogs, but we're going to see that later, there are another column called duration. This column duration will help us to know how long will it take to build a FB, how long will it take to build a Twitter, and stuff like that. Just to know that if the way we prioritize the things can be done in a technical way. This is the role of the product owner. Overview, define the pages, define the priority, define with Scrum Master what is possible, what is not, and get a retrospective on time. So, we've been saying about the project owner. We've been saying a backlog. And in this backlog, we've been saying about column names duration. And we've been saying that duration has got to be fulfilled not by the project owner, but by somebody else. Who is he? Who is he? He is the Scrum Master. We've been saying about the Scrum Master in a global way, but let's see exactly what's his role. A Scrum Master is talking to the PO and he's talking to the dogs. While he's talking to the PO, it's to discuss with the PO about two things. Possible, in a technical point of view, what is the duration, and is the team agree? Who is he to do so? The Scrum Master is a part of the dogs. Is a part of the team of the dogs. He is named by all the dogs, meaning a Scrum Master is not named himself Scrum Master. It's all the team together that name a Scrum Master. Then, most experienced Scrum Master as the lead developer. Most of the time, they are the lead developers. They can change any week, any month. They can change. This is not mandatory to get a Scrum Master at the beginning of the project, and it's got to be the same at the end of the project. This is one of the specificity of Agile. It means that the team works together. They act and they engage themselves, which is a huge difference. They don't have a project manager that comes to tell us you have to do it that way and deliver on this time. They engage themselves to do it on this time. So the Scrum Master now is, we've been saying, named by the dogs. His function is to represent the dogs. What does it mean, represent the dogs? It means that once a week, let's say more or less, once a week, he's going to see the backlog to say, okay, what's the priority you've been telling Mr. Product Owner? The Product Owner will say my priority are Facebook, Twitter, blah, 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 blah. Here again. The Scrum Master has two choices. He just takes the product backlog. He says, okay, I can see your priority now, but I'm going to see with my team, with my colleagues, if it's possible to be done with capability. Do we have the capability to do this first? And if so, what is the duration? Two kind of view for the same problem with the dogs. With the dogs. If you want to be correctly, we could see a cycle like this with the dogs, always with the dogs. So he comes and he says, the Scrum Master comes then, right after exchanging information with the dogs. He said, okay, duration for Facebook, half an hour. Twitter, 20 minutes. Print, 10 minutes. Product, okay, 4 days. This line with duration engage the team. They have to deliver on time the all items. We've got this blank column. This blank column is named detailed or user stories. What is it? It is fulfilled by the product owner and the Scrum Master to, let's say, describe more precisely what's got to be done. Let's take an example. Let's take the line 1. Line 1, say Facebook. Imagine yourself. You're going to see your team in the morning, let's say 9 a.m. What do we do now? We're going to do Facebook. Is it precise? Does the developer know exactly what they have to do? No, they don't. Because Facebook, it can be a social connection, it can be anything. So you get to pull some details about get a Facebook icon. It doesn't mean that I link my Facebook icon. It means that I get the Facebook icon. And the more precise I am, the more precise is the duration. So the Scrum Master has got to be really careful about the duration and get the detail and the more detailed possible way this backlog. This is his job, to discuss, to challenge the product owner on the duration. And second, to challenge it too on the priority. Why is it so? Let's say about my car store. Again, HP. So footer, toolbar, HD. Me, the product owner, I have this priority. 1, 3, 2. And in my backlog, I have set this priority. But me, the Scrum Master, I will tell you that this is not the right way to do it. Why so? Because if I do this, it will take me 2 days, which we don't have. And I think it's better to begin by the footer, which is 1 day, that you're going to see fast, and after the toolbars, and after the header. So product owner and Scrum Master exchange informations. The product owner cannot set up a backlog alone, let's say alone in his corner, and tell to the Scrum Master, this has got to be done. This is a discussion, and this is really important that all the parameters of the roles are defined. This is a discussion between the PO and the SM to make a correct backlog, and after the backlog is going to be given to the docs. We're going to see that a little bit later. So now, hey, my backlog's got to be done. Is that over between the product owner and the Scrum Master? Not at all, because we've got another thing to do as a couple. We've got to do a sprint. What is sprint? Sprint is a way to do my retrospective to the product owner. What does it mean? It means I have an order now. Footer, toolbar, header. Is that it? How many times is it going to take? With my engagement as a Scrum Master, I said 1 day, 1 day, 1 day. So I got a sprint of 3 days. It means in 3 days, I got to be able the footer, I got to be able the toolbar, I got to be able the header. And at the end of a sprint, I will get the review for the PO. That's what the sprint is about. That's what the sprint is about. This sprint is defined by the PO and the SM, and they're taking the items in the backlog. Which means what? Which means that with our example, contact, let's say car store, as we said. I'm not forced to develop the all home page. I can say that in my home page I've got the header that I'm going to find here, here, and here. So I think it's more useful me to develop the header once for all. It means that I can break all the pages in small parts and develop pieces by pieces as a puzzle that I will pull back together at the end. Why is it so important? Because it's easier to manage my crew, because it's easier to get an overview as fast as possible. Sprint is an engagement taken by the SM for the PO. And at the end of the sprint, you get a review. Now, we know exactly what the Scrum Master has got to do. He's named by his team. He's got to challenge his team. He's got to challenge the product owner. He's got to define the duration. He's got to define the priority with the product owner. And he's got to define the duration of the sprints with the product owner. Okay, now we know what the Scrum Master, what he should do is, what he is, what he should do, what's his complete role. But let's ask ourselves a question. If the PO has got an overview of the project, if the Scrum Master, which is a part of the dogs, just tell and challenge the product owner, what does the dogs do? Let's get now to the next step. The dogs, the team. The dogs are the one who's going to make the sprint comes true. So, who are they? The dog is a team of developers, any kind of developers, front office, back office, and stuff like that. They can be for 2 to 10. Why 10? Because upper than 10, it won't be easy to manage all the people during the sprint. So what we do, if we got a huge project, is that we separate different kind of dogs team. But let's say with a simple case, meaning one dog. So I got my dogs, and I'm going to take the same name again. Let's say Charles, Joe, Ben, and Mark. Okay? I got my 4 dogs, and I got my sprint now. So I'm not going to work with them. I'm going to work with them and tell them, okay, I've got my sprint's going to last 3 days. I'm going to tell them that. I got a sprint, and I got 3 days. And during this 3 days, I've got, let's say, 1, 2, 3 items. 3 items to be done. So the Scrum Master is going to come in the morning and is going to build a stand-up meeting to explain what's got to be done during these 3 days. He's going to get a part of what? Of the backlog. And how is he going to be doing this? He will do something really simple. He's going to take this, which I'm going to open if I am able to open it. He's going to come with this, the Scrum Master, and he's going to work on it, writing heavy there, okay? Then TB there, then HD there. And they're going to come as a stand-up meeting in the morning. This is the task that we'll be doing during these 3 days. And he's going to say to his team, okay, I've been discussing with the product owner. And in your name, in our names, dog teams, I've been saying that Facebook was for 1 day, 1 day, 1 day.
what can happen is that, let's say, Charles, take this. Joe, take this. Ben, take this. So what about Mark? It can happen that the task can be split in two functionality. Let's say icon here, build, icon, and next say link. So let's say Charles will set the icon in the front office, and let's say Mark will set the link on the home page. So the dogs, they are in Agile working in that way. Product owner, Scrum Master, dogs. Okay? So, we've been saying that the dogs are quite independent. What does it mean? It means that never a product owner can come in a team and say, okay, one of your dog doesn't suit to the project. This is not his role. The product owner cannot come and say, this one is bad. He cannot come and tell to this one, hey, this is not the way you got to develop. He can't interfere this. The product owner cannot come either in the stand-up meeting. So what does it mean? It means there is a boundary. There is a huge bound here between the product owner and dogs. Why is it so important? It's important because two things. First, the dogs are really independent, which is really important to build a team. First. Second, the developers just change their place in the project. They don't have only to develop it. They have to engage themselves of making it on time. What does it mean? It means that dogs, they are not just developers. They get to get the higher view to see if it's possible or if not. So you see, the dogs are quite important to the project. And as you can see, both of the parties, all of the parties are important, are in the same way important, which makes of Agile a new kind of method, which is not this kind of pyramid method, you know, with a chief and a dev. No, this is over. This is that way, like PO, SM, dogs. All have to work, all know what they have to do, and how many times they have to do it. Because if the dogs have got an engagement to do this in 3 days, what happens if in 3 days the PO don't know exactly what's going to be happen after this next 3 days? So it means that while the dogs are working, the PO still is working on the next steps with his overview. So everybody's working the same in loops, but not in the same loops that we've seen before with XP or V method. This is a positive loops. Everybody's working to make this project a reality. Dogs, SM, PO. Now that we know exactly what are the role of anybody, what we're going to do is explain in detail what are the tools. Now that we know, as we said, the role of anybody in an Agile project, how it can be done. This is the next step. I know who, what with. am I working? We've been saying a little bit of tools that we're going to see with details now. We said backlog. First of it, we say here backlog, a little bit larger, so we can see anybody what I'm talking about. As we said, the first line in the backlog describe my ID to make the priority, the functionality, okay, and the details, and the duration. This is the beginning of the backlog. This backlog is the major tool that anybody can use in Agile and has to set up at the beginning of the project. But to make it different than a V method or waterfalling, this document can be updated anytime. Why? Because the timeline of working of the PO during the 10 days is not the same that the docs. So, let's say, we've been saying before, about 3 days I've got my review as a PO. I got my review. And I understand that I've made a mistake as my priority. I can put my backlog back and change my number of priority so that for the last 7 days it can be in order. This is one of the major points of Agile. Always trying to update the things, always trying to be on tight on the project, and maybe able to raise an alert if necessary. What is it about? I said that Facebook first, but the developers for the review tells me that Facebook button can be placed here. It can be placed here for the front office, and it can be placed here for the back office, let's say. So what I got to do, I update my backlog to say more details about my story, and I say this is a priority number 1, or no, this is a priority number 10. This is major in Agile way of, let's say, putting the things in order. The backlog is a document. How can you make a backlog? To make a backlog, you can use Excel, you can use Jira, you can use some of the tools that you may find on the internet. I may say the software doesn't interfere in nothing. What you have to do is the correct column and a product owner that knows what you want to get at the end of it. So, what else can we say about the backlog? The backlog can be extended to another thing that we may need later. A few moments ago, I said that FB will take half an hour. You remember? Half an hour. Let's say that half an hour is equal to 1 point. Okay? Let's say my header is second here, say an hour. So 1 hour makes 2 points. Correct? Right. Let's say that the footer, let's say it's 1, 2. It makes 3 points. So it means that to make this print that I had to do in 3 days, it will cost 5 points. Why is it important to know that it costs 5 points? It's important because I will be able with this to calculate, to estimate the velocity of my dogs. I will be able to know what charge they can use, what charge they can be in. So, in the backlog, now we can add a last column, which is the weight. And this weight will be decided here by the SM and the PO with this rule. Does a half an hour cost a point? Does a half an hour cost 2 points, and stuff like that. And we're going to see that this is more important than you think. Because if this is regularly updated, I will be able to tell if it's possible to do the sprint on time, as fast and as easy I'm talking to you. This beginning to calculate and estimate how a project can be done in the right way. Now, we have seen the backlog. We're going to see details about the backlog because this is really important. It's the detail here. As I've done it before, I can use this. I can use this, right? And I can write something really simple. Like I said before, have be. But does have be mean something to me? No. So I got to do something a little bit more precise. I got to say my user story. Say have be, okay? Okay, get an icon. And this is called what? This is called a user story. Okay? And if I want to be correct, I can say that this user story costs 1 point. Okay? Or half one. Okay? Let's go. Half one. So I've got my user story here, which is a part of my backlog. I know has a dog that I got to do this. It's going to cost half an hour. Okay? And I know what to do. I know to get an icon. Second, how do I know the priority of this task? Simple. I use this. If it's green, it's major priority. If it's not, it's simple priority. So, when I'm talking as a Scrum Master to my docs, I just put all the tasks together. See? I'm going to say, let's say header. Okay? Header here. I'm going to say it's a major task 2. Okay? And I'm going to say it's going to cost 1 point. And I'm going to say what it's all about. So that all the dogs, when I'm coming in the morning, they just have to check what's going to be done. As simple as that. Every morning, what's going to be done and what's it be done on time. Because I remember you that we've been saying that the dogs, they engage themselves. They've been saying, okay, we can't do this in half an hour. So it forces the developers to estimate their own job, which is not the my priority of a developer. The my priority of a developer at the beginning is what? Is making the most reliable code. Is making the most efficient code. But now we give another criteria, is will you be able to do it on time? So we've got the backlog, we've got user stories. Now that we've got user stories, what happened? How do I know it's been doing? It's simple. I'm doing a board, raise like this, build like this, as an array. Okay, let's say here, to be done. Okay? Okay? Let's say here, running. Okay? Let's say here, done. Okay? And let's say here, rejected. What does it mean? It means that me, the developer, when I'm coming in the morning, I just look at this array, this board, and I say, okay, what's going to be done today? Oh, this is an emergency. So I take it and I put it on the running because I've been taking it. And if I want to be exactly precise, I put my name here so that the Scrum Master can know that, let's say Charles just take this task and it's got to be done in half an hour. And he says, okay, I'm ready to do it in half an hour. I can do it in half an hour. Okay? So this is on running. Let's say that Ben did take this yesterday. And at the end of the day, okay, it's done. So what? You take the same task, the same user stories, change it on the board, and put it at done. Okay, let's build another user story. Say web service. Web service Word. Okay, I got a web service Word. Okay, Ben coming. You see that Charles and Joe have been doing all the things. That just this remains. He take the user stories and says, Word. But with HTML we can do no web service, so this is not possible. So what does he do? He says, it is not possible, so I put it in rejected. This is one possibility. Second possibility, the Scrum Master come in the morning and say, okay, where are we? Or where's Mark? Or stuff like that. And then you realize that it won't be possible to do all the task in the 3 days. So what does he do? He prioritizes, and as there's no point here, he put it in rejected so that he can put it back on the next sprint. This is more important to understand that this way of managing your project is the best way to know exactly where you are, where you stand. Of course, when you will be, let's say, cool, when we'll be cool with this board, it will be easier to use the software. But please, with your team, if you're PO or Scrum Master, just use the board, just design this array and push them to take this little leap and put in the right code. So now that we have understand this, we can make a sum up of what we did. At first, introduction, we've been saying that we have a project, which is more important. We say that about this project we have to do the requirements first and how to plan it. Then we saw together different kind of methods: waterfalling, V method, XP. We decided that this method was not able to, let's say, suit to all the projects, to all any kind of crews. And we decide that Agile is the only one who's able to, let's say, suit to any kind of project. Because here is a major wrong idea. Most of the people believe that Agile is for the small project or the middle project in terms of days of developing or stuff like that. This is not wrong. This is not right. The point is that Agile can suit to any project, ever. The only thing you got to understand is what, how, when, and with who. That's the whole thing. Now that we have understand what are the roles in Agile and who how do what in Agile and what are the tools, let's go. We made a sum up of what we've been saying together. Let's try to be concrete a little bit. I had my business and technical who decides that I have a 3 pages website. This website, I've got one home page, one for the contact, one for the car store. This was first step. Now, as we'll send that to the product owner. So now I'm going to be the product owner. I'm going to play this. What is my HP? To be honest and real clear, this HP is a creative, so I've got to get the creative, but now we're going to make just this with a little bit of detail. I want my header. We have a logo here. All my links here. My toolbar here. My footer here. And some advertisement here. This is my home page. I'm on the contact. We have the phone here, the web, and let's say Skype. Okay? I want the toolbar, put me here, and the contact, put me here. I got my third page, which is the most important page. Okay? We have a toolbar, still my header, and let's say footer, and let's say you see my shop. You see my shop here. And let's say a dealer locator somewhere. No. Advertisement here. How? This is what the PO's got to do. He's got to do this first. This is the first step of his job. Now, how do you think we can do a backlog with this? Do you see? No? So we're going to do the backlog all together. To do the backlog, we're going to redesign it. Up. And we're going to say HP first. HP. In HP, I said, logo and links. Logo, links. Next is contact. I got phone, web, and we said Skype. And my last, my car store, which is made of header, footer, toolbar, which I forgot here. All right. Toolbar. Okay. And the most important, my shop. Okay. This is the first job of the product owner that we're doing now. Now, as a column, we're going to define what? What do you think we're going to define? We're going to define, as we said, the priority. We're going to define user story, which means details. We're going to define duration. We're going to define the velocity of my crew. Let's go. I am the product owner, okay? And I said logo means insert logo in header. I think toolbar here, meaning navigation bar. I think links, meaning get icon that links to other website. Done. I'm going to contact now as a project manager. I say, okay, what do we got to do as a contact? Phone? Okay. Icon? No, just a list of phone contact. Okay. Webmail. And let's say Skype connection to be reachable. Okay, let's go to cars now. Header, same. Footer, same. Toolbar, same. Shop. Okay, list of cars and prices in a carousel. This is the job of the PO. Apply, as his role is to get an overview of it. So now we've been playing to the PO, but the PO is not able to say what's the duration, what's the velocity. It's not. The only thing you can do now is just sing this board, this array, and say, okay, how can I prioritize this? We've got two ways of prioritizing this. First way, as I see that there are common page, because on the contact I will get a header too, and a footer too. I may be intelligent to first develop the header and the footer. And the footer, so that I'm sure that I will get, let's say, the bare bone of all the pages. This is one view. Second view, I can decide that as the shop is the major party, is the hardest one, I can decide to do this in priority, and I will discuss with the Scrum Master. This is the job of the project owner, to make such choice and in what way it's going to be done. Now, the project owner has got to, let's say, discuss and exchange or challenge with Scrum Master. So what does he do next? He calls the Scrum Master. So I'm not going to play all of it, but I'm going to try to explain to you how they use it, right? Now the SM comes in. The SM comes in and sees this board and he said, okay, this has got to be done. Okay, fine. So about what you're telling, there are things that really are not clear to me. What do you mean? Shop is a list of car and prices. How do I put this in? I mean, did I take a carousel like this, with an image inside that moving? Or is it a box? So this is not possible to make duration and velocity here, because this is not priced enough as a user story. To me, as a Scrum Master, here we got to get more details to get more functionality. This is one of the roles of the Scrum Master. Second, about what we've been saying. I am the product owner, and I tell you that I just realized that sums are the same on my website. Maybe it's better to begin with this. And I will tell you, as a Scrum Master, as I previously said, the first job we have to do is to detail this, and maybe later, you are right, product owner, we will do the things that are in common on the 3 pages. What I'm going to do now is try to make the duration, and what you're going to do is precise the job here so that we can discuss another way. So with this example, you see that between the product owner and the Scrum Master, there are more than one back and forth. There are full back and forth. So it's necessary at the first meeting concerning the backlog that we had product owner and Scrum Master a long meeting. Let's say 2 and 3 hours to meet together to build this. Okay, but the product owner wants to know exactly how many times it's going to take to build all this. And he said, okay, fulfill me this array with the duration, and I will try to precise my needs so that I can tell you what the priority is. So, okay, the Scrum Master says, okay, fine, I will do this. I got the HP, put the logo, let's say half an hour. Footer, not precise enough. What's on the footer? Toolbar, navigation bar, not precise enough. What's in the toolbar? What functionality? Links, not precise enough. What are the links? Links to Google, links to Twitter, not precise enough. So you see now with a concrete case that it's not easy to complete and to act on the backlog. So as it is an example, I'm not going to get so deeply in the building of the backlog, but you got to know, you got to realize that this is a really difficult exercise. So let's go again. Logo, half an hour. Footer, 1 day. Toolbar, 4 hours. Links, 4 hours. Okay, contact now, header footer. So header footer, I said as a logo, header footer here. We said half here, plus what? The footer. Let's say half an hour, half here. Phone, 20 minutes. No, let's say 30 minutes, half an hour. It's going to be simpler after. Let's say web, same, half an hour. Let's say now Skype. Skype is a particular one. Let's say 1 day. This doesn't have to be realistic. This is just going to be used to prioritize. This doesn't have to be too realistic, means to be precise and clear. As I'm building an example with you, it doesn't have to be realistic now. Obviously, when you will do the same with your own team and your own project, be realistic. That's really important. So let's be HD. We said 1.5 plus 1.5. Footer, again, 1.5. Here, toolbar, we're going to take the same. What did we say? Here, let's say we said 1.5. Toolbar, 1.5. And this is a major point. But let's not discuss about that now. Let's take one day. What does it mean? It means that as a product owner, I will say, okay, I got this cost to automate that the business asked me to do. And I get to make the planning and the costing of this. And I know now, with the Scrum Master help, that this is last half and half, which make 1 hour, 5 hour, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 2 days and 3 days, 3 days and a half. So my cost store can be delivered in 3 days and a half. That's the engagement of the Scrum Master. And the Scrum Master, before to get this engagement, is supposed to discuss with his team first. Now that I've got this engagement, I will try to prioritize this. And as I am the product owner, I will say my first priority is to get the soup, because I want to know what it is. And after, the header, and after, the footer, and after, the toolbar, and at the end, the links, and right after, the phone, the web, the Skype. And this doesn't have to be fulfilled because it's already here. Okay, as a product owner, I've done my job. I've been building a complete document that can be useful to me, that can be replaced, updated, and stuff like that, as we said before. This is the first thing that we have to do together as a product owner and Scrum Master. And the Scrum Master now will come back on this document and he will say, okay, now I'm going to do my job. We've been saying that half an hour is 1 point. That it? If half an hour is 1 point, I got 1 point here. As 1 day is 8 hours, 4 point here. 1 point. 4 hours, 2 points. 1 hour, 2 points. Half an hour, 1 point. 1 point. 8 hours, 4 points. 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 4 points. This cost store will cost me 1, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 23 points. Okay? It's going to cost 23 points. Why is it so important to know that? If I said, I'm going to come back later after, just to explain. I said I have 23 points on a team of 5%. These 23 points, I have to be spend them in 3 days. Which means what? Which means that I have 2 hours to put, okay? 23 points, 0 to 3. If I do the job correctly, I will get something like that. 23 points, as I did the first job on the first day. Let's say 15 points, and I do correctly the good work on the second day. Let's say 7 points, and I'm going to do the good job on the last day. Let's say 0 points. We call that a burn down charts. What can happen on a burn down charts? This is the ideal. This is what we dream about. What may happen is this. what can happen and what may happen is that this is what we want, but this is what's going to happen. Why so? Because as a team, I realized the first day that, let's say, the footer is harder to be done, that it cannot be done in half an hour. So this is here a crash down. I can raise an alert as dogs first and as Scrum Master after to say, okay, we won't be able to deliver on time. This burned out chart is a major key to manage your project and to make it understandable. Now, let's go back to the, and this is the reason why we need the velocity. Why? If I know my team can charge, my dogs can charge a velocity of, let's say, 10 points a day. It means that if I have a project that can last, that can wait, let's say 100 points, I know it can be done in 10 days. So estimating the velocity of your team as a Scrum Master and knowing the velocity of the team as a product owner is a really useful way to manage your project with Agile. Now, we're going to go deeper in this array, and we're going to see how the dogs and the Scrum Master will work together. Now, we've got our array, fulfill with duration, fulfill with velocity, and we know now why it's important to get the velocity, and with detail. So, how now we're going to make it this. For the product owner, it's simple. His timeline is this one. Day 1, items, and review. To be honest, this can never happen because a project is about 30 days, 2 years, not 3 days. But I make it shorter so that we can speak about something really useful and easy to understand. So, items, reviews, and let's say back and forth. Day 2, same. Day 3, deliver. That's what the product owner view is. Okay, I got my SM view now. My SM view and dogs view. Is it the same? Do you think they both have the same view? As we previously said, no, they don't have the same view. The SM and the dogs, they have this view. They have to fulfill the array we've been seeing with, let's say, to be done, on running, done, rejected. How couldn't they do so? How is it possible? It's simple. We just take our backlog and we just set up the priority. Priority 1, major, the shop. And as it is a major priority, I just put it in green. Okay. Next, priority. I said header. And as I want to do the things correctly, I just put the number of priority 2. And the explanation that we called previously the user story. Okay? This is my second. Third, we say the footer. Okay? Let's say 4, the toolbar. Okay? Let's say 5, the links. Yeah, okay? Let's say 6, the phone. Okay? And the ears. 7. And let's say 8. Okay, that's fine by me. So I've got now all my user stories, all my details. I'm going to take my array, which is a little bit short, but I'm going to try to make it with the array. So we said shop, first emergency, header, second emergency. We said footer, third emergency. We said toolbar, fourth emergency. We said links, fifth. We said about phone, sixth. Yep. And the 7 and the 8. Okay. To be done. This is the day 0. Okay? Day 0. But there is something missing here. Do you know exactly what it is? The thing is missing here is the duration. Why so? Because if I got here items to deliver the first day, the item I take the day 0 can last more than 1 day. By an example, I've been a little bit optimistic. I said, let's do shop 2 days, which makes 24. The shop's 2 days, meaning that if my friend Charles, sorry, let's do it again. If my friend Charles, because I got my crew there, Charles, Joe, Ben, Mark. If my friend Charles just take this, he's just going to take it, he's going to put it on running, okay? But it's going to last 2 days, which means that the shop can be ready before the day 2. So what are the items I have to put on day 1? So I got to tell on my user story the duration. Here, 2 days. Okay? Here, 1 day, etc., and etc. Which means that the Scrum Master is really important there to fulfill the user story. This is a major way of the Scrum Master. It is now that I know what I've got to do, I got to fulfill this array, which we call a Kanban board, so that my developers, my colleagues, know exactly how many times it's going to last. We got the priority, etc., and the duration, and the explanation. So that a developer that can take this and said, okay, me, Charles, I'm taking it. I'm going to do it in 2 days, I know. And when does he do this? The Scrum Master in the morning has got to make what we call a stand-up meeting, meaning at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., or whatever. You come, the fourth, raise up and say, okay, today, what we got to do? And we are day 0. We've got to do a website about our cost store. My PO asked me about that. We've been discussing about this. We made a backlogs and we made some priority. I've been fulfilled a Kanban board so that you know what the priority are, and we got to be able to make them. So I want me, the Scrum Master, I want all of you tell me what are the tasks you think you're able to do, because I've got duration about all the items, and now I know who do what. So please, when you take a task, you just take it with your hand, you put it on the on running, and you put your name on it. That's the role of the Scrum Master. So that the stand-up meeting can be efficient, the stand-up meeting cannot last. Which means what? At the beginning of this meeting, with a simple watch or with a time box on your iPhone, you just say, okay, we're going to do a stand-up meeting for now 10 minutes or for now 2 minutes, which means that a stand-up meeting is not made for discussing about the problems, the bugs, or stuff like that. A stand-up meeting is only made for one thing. Who do what as a dog? What task do you take? So this is the first meeting in the morning. During the day, the Scrum Master can make another meeting with all the dogs. And during this meeting, that can last half an hour or an hour, it can be possible to dogs to say, okay guys, I got something that won't work. You know, I got this front of this page, this HTML page, this HTML page, this 5 HTML page, doesn't work on Firefox. I don't understand why I've got this JavaScript that doesn't work on my Firefox. Anytime I do a cross-browsing, it won't work. And all together, the team try to search and define what are the issues and how to solve it. This can be done by the whole team, but this got to be initiated by the Scrum Master. It's his role inside of the docs team to initiate things like that. So, say it again as a sum up. The morning, all together, we do what? Simple, time boxing, no possibility to say more. During the day, by experience, let's say 2 p.m. after eating, let's meet together again and say, are we on time? Is there anything bad, an issue with stuff we gotta take together? Let's say Charles take the shop and you realize that it's not possible because let's say it doesn't have the right picture, they're not at the right size, they have to be cropped. It's not possible to crop depth on the same time. Do somebody have some answers to this? Or I'm trying to make in with Drupal as a CMS or CQ5 as a CMS, and it's not possible by my side because I don't know exactly CQ5 does. Anybody know how CQ5 works? How it's possible to upload the things or stuff like that? No, I don't know. Do you know, Joe, how to make it? This is what it's all about the afternoon, and it's really important that any meeting has got a target, a goal. Okay, so as a team now, let's go back. I'm going to the stand-up meeting. Charles, take this, 2 days. So what does it mean? It means that Charles is forced to do this during 2 days. And that he cannot do anything that this task for 2 days. So to make this realistic, in your own company, what happens? It happens that developers are not enough to do this project and other projects. So what's got to be known is it possible for Charles to, let's say, lock 2 days in his planning only for car stores. If it's not, this is a major issue. And he's got to tell to the Scrum Master, okay, you've been estimated a charge of 3 days, but buddy, I'm not free. I got to do, let's say, TMA or maintenance, or I got to do some other things, or I won't be here because it's a bank holiday or stuff like that. So this is really important from day 0 that anybody's got his planning tight, fulfilled, so that we know the issues, so that we know that our velocity won't get in the wall. This first meeting, day 0, is quite important, quite urgent. Second thing about this stand-up meeting. A lead developer is, by experience, the best Scrum Master, but not all the time. Sometimes, lead developer, they just don't want, or they just don't can because they don't want to lead a team or stuff like that. They are technical, accurate, but they don't manage. Okay? So the Scrum Master's got to be chosen for his skills to understand, to communicate, to challenge. The skill of the Scrum Master is not only about is he good at coding, is he not good at coding. This is not exactly the point. The point is a Scrum Master has got to be able to communicate, to be good on code, to understand his colleagues, to be respected by his colleagues. Which means what? If the day 0, the dogs named a Scrum Master, and it appears that this Scrum Master is not the right one because he don't want to, because he's not able to, then no problem. It's all the dogs together, meaning Charles, Joe, Ben, and Mark, that can say, okay, we made a mistake. Let's say it's not Charles going to be the Scrum Master. Let's say it's Ben. And this is another particularity, the specificity of Agile. The projects keep on going even if you change the people. It doesn't have to suit to any people. It doesn't have to suit to a project manager. It just has to suit and follow the planning, which is a complete different view while challenging, let's say, Agile methods or waterfall or stuff like that. There's no facing people in front of it. Just the planning, just tasks. So now, by the way, if you want to change the product owner, it's the same. Then when you did realize, build the complete backlog, you can change the product owner, it won't change anything because what's going to be done, got to be done. This is another particularity of Scrum Master and Agile. Now, we've been talking about the stand-up meeting in the morning. Okay, so we're going to spread that. Okay. 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 Okay, for Ben. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay. Good. We spread our tasks on the board. And Ben, while he's at his, when sitting on his desk, say, why my task is the toolbar? Hey, the toolbar is not possible. Why is not possible? Because I don't have the environment. Or it can be done that way. So what does he do? He's just stand up. He's sure. He's going to Scrum Master and said, okay, it's rejected because it can't be done in 3 days. I'm sorry. This is real life. Okay? So we don't have the structure to do this in 3 days. This can happen. This is one. Second, that can happen in Agile, but you will see this is no issue. I am taking a task and I overestimate myself. I begin to do it and I said, well, guys, I'm sorry, but I took the toolbar, but I just can't assume it because it's too hard to do. You've got two ways of resolving this. First way, you mix the task. Okay? Toolbar, just go to Ben. And let's say footer, just go to Joe. So it's possible in that team to exchange the tasks, which is another particularity of Agile, which makes him stronger as a method as any other. And let's say this. We've been saying about XP, extreme programming, and we're saying this doesn't suit to all the projects. But this is not because it doesn't suit to all the projects that we cannot take a part of XP. Meaning what? During my Agile, nothing is forbidden. So Joe and Charles can work on the same task. Why is it useful? It's useful because, as I said, if Joe is taken by other tasks, other projects, he can do a half of it, and Charles can do another half. So you can merging in Agile, which is another strong specificity. You can merge different kind of method. You don't have to be strict to the point to the method. But first, you got to get the base of the method, what we've been saying together. So, we've been saying the backlogs. We've been saying the user stories. We've been saying the Kanban board. Now, what do we miss? We miss the most important. Is it possible to do a car store in 3 days? Now, we're going to fulfill this. 3 days, 24 points. Day 1, day 2. We got a spread. We did spread our task on non-running on the 4 people here. What do? I said that my team, my dogs, are able to take 24 points in 3 days. Knowing that 3 days, meaning 24 hours of work. Correct? So, I got 24 hours of work for 1, 2, 3 people. Which means 86 hours of work. This is it. This is ideal. Because we said that half an hour is 24 points. So our project of 24 points is about 12 hours. 12 hours. 12 hours that can be said compare to the 96 hours that can be done. So the answer is, in a normal way, yes, it can be done. But we are in the real life. In real life, what can happen, what might happen? It is this. Charles is at 80%. Joe is at 60%. Ben is at 10%. And Mark is at, let's say, 5% or 100%. Okay? So 8% of 8 hours, 6 hours per day. J, 60%, 4.5. Ben, we said 10% of 8 hours, so 50 minutes, let's say, per day. And Mark, 15%, 4 hours. So to estimate the velocity of my company, of my dogs, I have to do this exercise. How many times can you give to the project, and how many times do you have, so that you can compare the time of your docs and the time that can be delivered to this project. This is the first point. Second point, okay, I've been saying that day 4 is gonna be header, footer, links. This is the ideal way that we design on the bird charts previously. In the real life, it never happens. In the real life, it happens that at the meeting, at the noon meeting, let's say Ben will say, you won't be able to get the links. What does it mean? It means that first the Scrum Master raise an alert because it's going to go to the wall as a crash. And he re-evaluate, make a new one, estimation. He make a new estimation on the backlog, which means what? He has to raise up a new meeting with the product owner to rebuild of this and update it. And this is another strength of Agile. Less bug, less problem, but acknowledgement, immediate. This is the first case. Let's say about second case. Second case, I deliver what I have to. But the product owner says, no, no, no. This is not what I had in mind. How do we do this? We try to do two things. We try to do, let's say, spread the charge in another way. We've got 2 days. Is it possible in 2 days to redo the whole things? So respread the charge on my whole team, knowing that I have 96 hours or 4 hours a day. This is the first exercise. Second exercise, if not, I'm trying to say, okay, can I change my priority? Or can I change the way I can deliver this? This is major. This is a burn charts down. This is the way you can see on a scheme if you're working in a good way and if not. This is really simple to use. This is really useful for the product owner, very useful for the team. Another way to talking about Agile. Let's say we've got developers working together and they engage themselves. If you, the product owner, come in the team, most of the time you don't have the technical terms to explain and to do the things, which is not what's going to happen between all the colleagues. The colleagues can say to one of them, okay, hey Charles, what are you doing? We're going to be late because of you. So tell me what's your problem and we're going to solve it. So in terms of management, it's easier to let all the colleagues work together to resolve their own problem, human one, technical one, let's say planning one, together. So Agile is really, really efficient about this. Okay, at last, what have we got to do? Ideal way, we've got a project that we built, our coaster, that's going to last 3 days or 3 months, whatever. We've got a review. We've got the planning. We can mix the two things, meaning I can get my planning as a PO, older planning like MS project planning, and I can get the view as Agile planning. This is the reason why we've been doing this session together. We've been doing this session together to see that Agile is the most efficient it can be little project, a middle project, and a long project, because this is a wrong idea. Most of the people think that Agile is just made for the little project. Not at all. I'm going to explain to you. Let's say I got a project that's going to last 300 days. Okay? And let's say I have these points. Somebody said, I will say it here. It's going to be easier. This point. What are we going to say? Hey, Agile won't be able to do this. It's wrong. What's going to happen is to get several PO that are working with several Scrum Master, separate way, that are working with dogs. And all information get to the business or technical head. And another way, another times, it's easier to get an alert of what can be done or what cannot be here. It's an easier way not to get loops and loops and loops again before to know what the code is and how it's going to work. It's another way not to get loops and loops to see, okay, I won't be able to deliver. So Agile, as you can see, is the best method for any kind of project. And I'm going to finish by this. We've been talking about this session about Agile on, let's say, website. But I'm sorry, what doesn't allow you to use Agile in another way? I mean, for functional or developing or management. Management, let's say. Okay, just see that. I got the project management, right? I got the project. I got to build a new team. Okay, I got 10 days to build a new team. Okay, so I set up my backlog. It means meeting people. It means reading CV. It means get a list. It means etc. So I've got my backlog. Okay? I made Hannah my Scrum Master. Hannah can be, let's say, director. I make it my Scrum Master. And who are the dogs? The rest of the team. And at the end of the 10 days, I've been choosing my colleagues. Agile can suit to any kind of project. Any kind of project. That's the reason why you've been seeing this session. And I'm ready now to answer to all your questions. Let's do a quick sum up. We've been seeing what? Project. Define. Crew. Method. That's what we've been working together. How to define a project? We said we have to plan it. Okay? We have to get the requirements. This is what we've been saying. We have to build a crew. And we got to get the method. We just saw together the most used method. And we choose the most suitable method, which is Agile. Considering Agile, we've been saying who do what, how, and with what tools. And at the end, with a concrete example, we've been trying to apply what we've seen before. Agile is not only a method, it's a new method of working in independent way, huge, little, any kind of project. So now all the question you're going to ask yourself is it possible to work another way?